Welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining us. We are just going to talk for a couple of minutes to let you all filter in because we had a large number of registrants today. You will notice as you arrive that your videos are off, your microphones are off, but you will be able to have an opportunity to engage with us and with the speaker via the Q&A, and we'll get started in a minute. In the meantime, once again, welcome all of you. I can see attendees flooding in as we speak. So for those of you who've only just joined us, your microphones and your videos are off, but you will have a chance to engage with the speaker towards the end of the event in the Q&A. In the meantime, please do take the opportunity to use the chat function. So that's the single speech bubble in the bottom of the taskbar. Do use the chat function to introduce yourselves, to say who you are, where you're dialing in from. We do love to see who's actually joining us, and to see how many countries and areas that we've got people coming in from. It's really great a lot of the time when we try and get people from all over the region and of course across the rest of the world. So in the meantime, welcome everyone. I can see more of you are still coming in. We'll get started in just a couple of minutes once some more people have joined, because we can see the numbers are still trickling up. But in the meantime, please do take the opportunity to use the chat feature. You can see some people already putting messages in to introduce yourselves, say who you are, where you're dialing in from, so we can, we can introduce ourselves. We get to see who's around and what everyone's interested in their backgrounds. Excellent. I can see people using the chat function. Welcome to everyone who has used the chat function, and from those of you who have not yet said hello in the chat. Right, well, I think we're probably ready to start now. We've got a couple of introductory slides anyway. So first of all, welcome to our June community development activity, which is part of the Forum for Open Research in MENA activities. So if we could move to the next slide, please. We've got some housekeeping slides first. Obviously, most of you are very familiar with Zoom now. I mean, ever since COVID, we've all been using it a lot, but it always helps to have a quick refresher. So you have the Zoom features down at the bottom. They are a movable window. If you're feeling it's obstructing your view, you can move it to one side. If any of the speakers are speaking too fast, please do use the raise hand function. This will notify all of us that we need to slow down. As we've already mentioned, the chat box, that's the single speech bubble at the bottom. Please do use it to say hello and to engage with your fellow attendees. But if you have any technical issues, do put it in the chat. If you have content questions for the speaker, which we will read out at the end of the event after the speaker's finished her talk, do put it in the Q&A section. So that's the double speech bubble as opposed to the single speech bubble icon. If you do accidentally put it in the chat, we will try and track this and remind you to put it in the Q&A, but otherwise it might get missed, which obviously would be a shame. So that's it, I think, for the first part of the housekeeping. Next slide, please. So just a bit of a brief overview for those of you who might not be aware of who we are and what we do. So now, my name is Dr. Emily Chanowski, and I am the Director of Operations for the Forum for Open Research in MENA, also known as FORM. Now, FORM is a non-profit membership organisation which has been launched to support the advancement of open science policies and practices in research communities and higher education institutions across the Arab region. So that's all 22 Arab states. And within that, we have a number of key goals. So we want to support, as we mentioned, the sort of the development and implementation of open science policies and practices at those higher education institutions. We want to create accessible and localized resources to help institutions and all the different stakeholders within the wider research communities engage with open science policies and practices at that practical level. We want to build and encourage collaborative community partnerships and really develop that broader regional community of best practice surrounding open science. And finally, we want to champion the development of right-to-left functionality in all open science and open source software and solutions to ensure that content can be used by and in Arabic as well as English and other languages. Just a brief reminder as well, you'll see at the bottom here, we've got a little hashtag saying #4ForOpen in the bottom right-hand corner. So if you do want to tweet or post on any social media platform today about this event and about our activities, please do use that hashtag so we can pick it up and engage with you online. Next slide, please. So just a brief overview again about what it is we do as Form. So there's three key pillars of activity. There's, as I mentioned, the generation of resources, whether it's the software and solutions to promote open science in the region, guidance resources in Arabic and English and other regional languages, but also we're in the process of launching a journal as a home for all the research surrounding the development and implementation of open science activities in the region. We have the annual forum, which I'll talk about more at the end of the session, which is our flagship event. This is a big in-person and online event. Each year we hold it in a different country. Last year it was in Egypt. This year it is in the UAE. We're in talks about where to hold it in 2024 as well, and hope to have an announcement about that shortly. And finally, there's our community development activities. Now, this is workshops and webinars, working groups, and an online discussion forum, and workshops, as I mentioned, obviously, as such as today's one, which are sort of allow everyone, free activities that allow everyone to come and learn about the different aspects of open science that are relevant for them and their communities. Next slide, please. So now it is with great pleasure that I once again welcome all of you as our attendees. Thank you for dialing in from across the region, across the world. I've noticed while I was talking that there's people from a large number of countries here today, so welcome. And it's with great pleasure that I hand over to Estelle, who is representing ORCID today, who will be talking about personal IDs, the PIDs, and data transparency, and how ORCID and the PID frameworks can really help support open science, but also help you all as individual researchers. So Estelle, I will hand over to you. Welcome and thank you. You're on mute still, by the way, Estelle.
Thank you, Emily, and hello, everyone. Oh, I have experienced a few technical glitches, so happy resolved now. And yeah, I'm sure Emily has introduced a lot. I still want to thank her for this opportunity to thank you for organizing this. I'm very, very happy to present here to the global community and to you with you. And the slides will be available. Just want to let you know. I'm going to share my screen to presenting, and I'm going to turn off my camera. Just want everyone to know, but I will turn it on just for better connection and to ensure better technical experiences. So I'm going to turn off my camera now. And I'm going to share my screen. So give me a second. Oh, okay, everyone. Perfect. Okay, I'm going to share my screen. Oh, great. Start. All right, I'm going to presenting now. So if you have any questions about voices, my sound, or the slides, please let the host know or use the chat function so I know. And yeah, and I'm happy to take the question at the end of the presentation, or I think you can use the Q&A functions during the presentation, so I can take them all together at the end of the presentation. So yeah, hello everyone again. I'm Estelle Chen. I'm based in Taiwan. So now I'm an engagement manager for our global direct members, especially for publishers and service providers and research institute in the APAC region. So today, what we will learn and take home today, a part of this presentation is that I'm going to start from a more high-level general introduction overview of persistent identifiers and ORCID as a part of it, and to move on to introduce ORCID a little bit more. So I'm sure some of you may hear, or most of you may hear about ORCID, but I'm still using this chance to introduce a bit more to people may not know ORCID so much. And then I think one of the main topics of this webinar, of the themes of the foundation form, is about open science. And so I'm going to share why ORCID is an important part of open science and the value of ORCIDs in different research workflows. And how to do that is through ORCID integrations, and share some more use cases, and to take your discussion and further feedback. Okay, so next slide. Yeah, ORCID is one of the PIDs. So what does it mean? So persistent identifiers. They are globally unique. So you may know, we just call it PID. So yeah, basically it's persistent identifiers. So they are globally unique. So each PID resolved to one entity, could be a data set, a person, a journal, organization, a software code, a project, etc. So they uniquely identify things or people or places. And the P in persistent means persistent or persistency. So they stick around, they are not assigned, it's unique globally, so, and they are well governed and technical resilient. Persistence is governed by is managed by well governance. So they are stable and reliable. And PIDs are resolvable by both humans and machines. So as you can tell, ORCID or DOIs, they can be made into URLs and with landing pages. So both people or machine can utilize those. And PIDs are findable, accessible, reusable, and interoperable, as you may know the FAIR principles. And then why it's a PID? Yeah, PIDs are the contents as we just described, but why? So PIDs provide clarity. So exactly which book, which person, what article you are referring to. Prevent confusion and solve problems. So they disambiguate. And PIDs facilitate sharing, reuse, and attribution, because it makes both researchers and actually machines easier to discover things and to give attribution to authors, organizations, and funders in actually the overall research workflow. So it provides a more accurate picture of the activity, and PIDs enable automation and interoperability. So automation is, I believe, everyone in the scholarly communication or in the research ecosystem, it's something we want. Automation saves time, they disseminate information, and it facilitates different trusted exchanges. So they save money in short, and I will give more concrete examples in the following slides. So there are PIDs for different entities. So it's like in the early days when all started, it's more about people, places, and things. So ORCID is one of the PIDs for people, authors, or people who contribute to research. And there are now PIDs for books, so you can see the role, and PIDs for data sets, articles, etc. So DOIs, or like ISIN for journal, ISBN for books. But with time growing, so there are different PIDs now. So you may even heard of like grant IDs, cross-reference grant IDs, GOIs for grants, and also RAID for projects. And I would like to use this kind of old but a classical example to just point out some of the challenges we may encounter in the scholarly communication everyday life. So this is actually a real tweet from Twitter, as you can tell. So yeah, the 38th author, well, not finished yet. The 38th author called what? Oh, so then ambiguity is definitely something happening in real life, no matter the disciplines or where you are. So it's a real challenge. So aside from name ambiguity, the other is actually name variation. It's also another familiar daily kind of challenge every researcher encounters. So this is actually an ORCID record. And as you also may know that different citation styles require different formatting of authors' names. So you can see this is the author and with different formatting option in the article. And plus there are also different name variations in terms of also known as middle name, etc. And so yeah, name variations plus name ambiguities are kind of most obvious, transparent example. And that's kind of what everything starts to drive the birth of ORCID. So ORCID associates researchers with institutions and research outputs through different links to different PIDs. So ORCID is PIDs for researchers. So we have PIDs for organizations, PIDs for research outputs, and PIDs for funding grants. All those are linked with each other. Fine. And here I'm going just also to start to introduce ORCID a bit more. So ORCID's mission is to enable transparent and trustworthy connections between researchers, their contributions, and their affiliations. define the unique identifier we provide for researchers and people who contribute to research in different workflows they will have in the research life. So ORCID is a non-profit independent organization registered in the US. So it's launched in 2012. So we just celebrated a 10-year-old birthday last year. And we are guided by our founding principles and values. And we are committed to make fair open data available. And we have the public API available for individual use, and also release the annual public data file. So as of now, so we have, it's good that we reach a great global participation, and of course with the community efforts keeps growing. So we have more than 1,000 organizational members, and we have different consortia across the globe, and there are more than 4,000 systems actively using ORCID, and we have members in different countries. And as I say, it actually stands for Open Researcher and Contributor IDs. So it provides 3 main services. So the first, you already know, it's ORCID ID. So it's free of charge for researchers. And the second, and also just to clarify, so when we say membership, ORCID's membership is for organizations. So if you're an individual, you just need to register for an ORCID ID and you can start to use in different workflows. And the second is that ORCID provides a set of APIs for organizations to use, so they can adopt those APIs into their systems, and researchers share their ORCID IDs with different organizations during different research workflows by those integrations. And organizations can exchange using our API to different systems for different research information. And of course, just an ID is not alone, not enough. So, so we also have ORCID record, or sometimes called ORCID profiles, attached to the ID. So ORCID is a place to store and share those different connections between IDs, research activities, and affiliations. And this is a snapshot of what we are achieving so far. So ORCID now is increasingly a hub for different amount of profile activity and data. So in the center, you can see it's ORCID, and we engage with different stakeholders in this research ecosystem, with publisher and publisher system, funders, and different institutional system and discovery and profile systems. So last year, it's quite impressive that ORCID records are viewed 124 times per minute. So for people and for different systems, so people are interested in ORCID records, and different systems are really you kind of interchanging information with ORCID. So as this example, so we got 1.2 billion items of data in ORCID records was reused by different external systems. And our data is read, meaning kind of different system collecting information at ORCID 122.3 million times per month last year. Again, it's an indication that more and more systems are connected with ORCID, and through ORCID, this hub, every system can start to exchange information and talking with each other. So from this section, I hope that by now everyone has a bit more understanding about what ORCID is, what ORCID does, what ORCID provides. And from here, I want to go to a bit more details about why open science and ORCID. So, and also I want to start by this headline. So infrastructures are really a key or key force to the sustainability of open science. So as you may know now, the UNESCO Open Science Recommendation. So it makes a recommendation and it gives a shared values, principles, framework about open science. But here we are adopting the definition from UNESCO. So open science is a set of principles and practices that aim to make scientific research from all fields accessible to everyone for the benefit of both sides, the scientists and society as a whole. And open science infrastructure, as the UNESCO Open Science Toolkit mentioned, are needed are important to support implementation. Then these infrastructures may be virtual or physical. So ORCID is part of virtual. Physical could be instruments or like telescopes, etc. And the PIDs are one of the critical components of open science infrastructure. And this is kind of the detail why it is the way. And the promise of PIDs, the PIDs actually optimize research cycle. So PIDs are used throughout the overall research life cycle, so from grant application, review, and award, and during every research phase, and all the way go to publication, reporting, outcomes, and reviews. So the value of PIDs can be delivered at every stage, but of course, it needs to be implemented and adopted through best practices. And still, now the overall research community are on this journey, and our success again is depending on everyone in this system's contribution and commitment. So and from here I want to share a bit more details about this. So it's good that we talk a lot about different kind of philosophy or kind of high level, but it's good now that more there are some empirical studies. So more automation and less administrative burden and rekeying data will make everyone's life easier. So indeed, so there's the consultancy along with the UK government and the Australia government that did some analysis. But with the UK one, they figure out that over a 5-year period, this could actually save £50 million by really better automation and less time managing those metadata and less time managing rekeying, etc. And with the with the Australia Research Data Commons, ARDC, and Australia Access Federation, AF, their reporting revealed that with the PIDs adoption, it actually can save $24 million a year. So I'm very happy now we have more, and I believe it will become more and more prevalent for more and more. It's a trend for different organizations to provide more evidence, empirical in a sense, to let the community know the value or we just mentioned about safe money parts in terms of PIDs adoption. And this is, again, to iterate that PIDs improve transparency and trust. So PIDs like ORCID is a part of the research infrastructure. It provides open, transparent, and reservable connections among researchers, research outputs, and institutions. And it definitely strengthens public trust through the research cycle journey. And more important, more complete and transparent metadata will improve both internal and external reporting by compliance with open access requirements or different national policy mandates and agreements. And here is a kind of overview of ORCID record. So as we all know now, research information will be the key to everything from reporting, evaluation, or just to kind of comply with different requirements or different data principles, like clear principles. So information on ORCID records can help. You can see different sections here. So in the ORCID record, you can see affiliations, distinction, etc. And there are more examples in the next few slides to show that use cases of these different types of sections. So yeah. And from now on, I'm going to share a bit more about using different workflows to kind of demonstrate how ORCID deliver values. So the first I want to talk about is publishing. I think publishing is definitely one of the most important for every researcher or for a lot of publishers that are great, that are very important stakeholders in the research ecosystem. So yeah, publishing integrate ORCID into the submission and peer review process. So this is a diagram depicting a kind of general publishing process from manuscript submission to editing, publication, discovery, reporting. So at each stage or each phase, there are different steps or different kind of expectations of these stages. So with ORCID, so at the first part during the manuscript submission process, so ORCID can be a single sign-on mechanism that could make researcher, authors, or reviewers' life easier. So and of course make ORCID more useful for authors or reviewers by using ORCID to sign the manuscript submissions. So there are already a lot of vendor systems doing so. So to name a few, like ScholarOne or Editorial Manager or eJournal Press, those are the kind of service provider system that support ORCID already. And also during the peer review process, one of the trends is to give peer reviewers recognition. This is also something that can be done by ORCID. So through ORCID, reviewers can get review recognition, and we support both different types of peer reviews from open, single blind, or double blinded. And of course, in the future stage, that has to do with like indexing platforms, which again, as you may know, that ORCID works with some vendor systems. So like different indexing services like Scopus, or now called, I think it's public, or Web of Science. Yeah, Web of Science now. So this is the diagram that I want to share with you in terms of ORCID's value in the overall workflow. And next is the funding workflow part. So again, a very quick kind of introduction part. So for the funding workflow, it's from funding application, and of course funding, of course, sometimes goes with peer review process, grant award, research project created, and then of course research outputs associated with the funding. So the funders, we always encourage again start to provide ORCID as a single sign mechanism for applicants to sign to the funding system funding workflow, and funders then collect data from the applicate's record and use it to populate into the proposal into submission form. And when the funding is approved, the funder can add the funding information to the researchers or awardees record, and then track and evaluate different research results using the data over time. And the next slide is about research management workflow, or sometimes called research management information system. So again, so researchers here, and this is the CRIS, parent research information system, and different other systems. For researchers, they want to they want to have better profile visibility. They want to have easier and better way to track their career, and of course, unique identification. And for organizations that adopt research management system, what they want to do is here basically again better understanding of activity and impact, better quality of metadata, and of course ensure a smooth kind of data exchange, interoperability with different systems. Through ORCID, it's also something can be a part of the workflow. So as you may know, so there are some research management system or repository that support doing this. So for open source like DSpace and DSpace CRIS, so for commercial ones like Pure, so from Elsevier, or Convarious from Web of Science, and to name others, again, they are starting supporting this, which we feel it's a good move that make our community easier to integrate with ORCID. And this is a quick introduction about auto update. So basically, this is an example of how ORCID work with different PIDs like DOI. So this is the example of Crossref. And now this actually the auto add feature are supported through 3 DOI agencies. So Crossref, DataSign, and there's one in Japan. So they all support this feature. So what this is about. So basically, publishers include ORCID ID as a part of the DOI metadata by creating DOIs, and DOI agencies will contact researchers, and then researchers grant permissions to those DOI agencies, And in the future, when new publications or new data sets are registered with DOIs, those information will be automatically added to researchers' ORCID profiles. All right. And from here, I'm going to quickly go to that how part. So I hope that again at this stage, everyone knows a bit more about ORCID and the value of ORCID in different research workflows. So of course, now it goes, the value needs to be realized through implementations. So how does this work in practice? So there are actually two components, both individuals and organizations both play a role. So for individuals, researchers register for your ID if you haven't, and connect your ID with any system that you have during the research workflow. And for organizations, of course, adopt or integrate ORCID into your systems to help you and to help your researchers. And organizations integrate ORCID to deliver values. There are several kind of high introduction I want to share. So ORCID integrations connect an institutional system with ORCID by API. So basically using API and make two systems connect with each other. And this will require users authentication. So researchers need to connect with the system. And to ORCID integrate, a typo here. So ORCID integrations enable data synchronization with ORCID, as we just shared. And kind of clarification is that sometimes we may hear that people or system, they want to search ORCID for something. That's doable for sure, but that's not the best practices. So organizations should integrate with ORCID, and ORCID integrations are not a data lookup. So it should be all start from researchers' authentication, and then the future data bidirectional exchange. Then what does authentication mean? So actually this is referring to the previous slide I'm having. So basically researchers need to connect with using ORCID ID to connect with every system they encounter during the research workflow. So for researchers, it's really simple. So what you need to do is to connect your ORCID ID into system. And here is the a screenshot of the authentication of all screen. So this is the researcher, this is her ORCID ID, and this researcher is connecting with this organization, and this organization is using the member using the member API to ask researcher saying, yeah, this system wants to add data to your ORCID records. Do you agree to ask for consent? So who is asking and which permission are giving? This is just called all screen, and it's just one step. So this is the only thing that researcher, author, or reviewer, whatever types of researcher they need to do is to click authorized access. And then the system will have the access to do all the automation in the future. So integrations make research a lot easier and maximize organizational membership benefits. So and also just referring back, so ORCID is a membership organization. Now we 100% completely rely on membership fees to make us sustainable, and only ORCID members can add items to the ORCID records and synchronize with the ORCID registry. And when I say ORCID members, member organizations for sure. So to very quickly, just want to also share there are three different to integrate with ORCID. So if your organization is interested in working with ORCID, you can use certified system. So we have now worked with different vendors that meet ORCID's best practices. This information are available in our website. So you can go to our website to see the current certified system. And if now you are also a vendor and you want to know more, please visit here. The certification is totally free, open to participation by different service providers. But of course, there are some requirements needs to make to ensure that system follows our best practices. And the option 2, if you are using a system that may support ORCID, but haven't been able to meet the best practice, that's also one of the options. And we work with different systems. So this is the option 2. The option 3 is that if your organizations is interested in ORCID and you are not considering with any vendor or open source system, you have your own customized system. That's okay. So we have a technical team that can work with you to figure out how to do that. Yeah, I'm going to skip the details here. And there are different use cases. So finally, there are more use cases. So I want to share is that, so when an ORCID member, what they do, they add information, they update information in the ORCID record. The source name will be that organization's name. So this just are 2 examples. I'm going to share more later on. And so now we work with research organizations to add affiliations, publishers to add outputs or reviews, funders add funding items. So those provide those kind of clear connection about who is adding what. We call those trust markers that can be used to help in different parts of the research workflow. And there are more examples I want to share. So this is the example from one of the members in Brazil. And this is an example of they use ORCID as a sign option and as a starting point. So repository example and more example that more members. This is 2 members. They use main API to add works. So as you can see here, and these are the trust markers. The book chapter, or yeah, this is the book information about works. And our member organizations can use more to do this is the peer review example from Spring Nature. So you can add peer reviews. And also you can add different affiliations. So these are research institutes doing so. As you can see, one from Taiwan, the actually from Laos in Saudi Arabia. And funding items and peer reviews. This also now we want to advocate with funders, and this benefits them and benefits researchers as well. So last but not least, I believe that I hope now everyone now again knows the values of ORCID, knows what we do, what we provide. But the most important part is that it's a community effort. So we want to work with everyone, every part of the community to help all of us make ORCID more useful and more relevant open science. If we don't adopt this, it will never be really deliver value it possess. So if now we understand in some part of the region, probably still in the EMEA or MEA region, there are lower awareness for ORCID, both among organizations and researchers. This is the challenge or problem we identify. So we want to work with the community there. If you're a publisher, if you're a funder, you can start to adopt ORCID into your workflows. But if you're, and also if you're policymakers, you can also start to think about policy-wise how ORCID can connect with your national or institutional policy. And the problem that now still we understand or we realize that there are more and more tools and data sources that are potential can integrate with ORCID and to deliver value for the community, but yeah, haven't done so. So if you are software providers or if you know that that's something we can work together, is that start to integrate with them with ORCID. So, and this is a great quote that actually I learned from our CEO, Chris Sheelan, when he joined the CIN meeting. So the quotes are that PIDs alone do not provide much value. The value comes through in embedding PIDs in other systems, connecting to them, visualizing connections, and leverage relationships. So I think this is really personal, both personally, and I'm sure that everyone in the PIDs community agree this. They require adoption, they require people's commitment. Okay, so thank you so much. And again, I'm happy to learn your discussion and to take your question. And now I'm going to stop sharing.
Thank you so much, Estelle. That was an incredibly rich and thought-provoking talk, and I think that really helped clarify. I know there's a lot of issues, and it can seem quite daunting, the whole concept of a personal identifier, and even, what is ORCID and everything else. There's a lot around there. So I think that was very informative and very helpful for all our attendees, I hope. So please do, I'm sure you will have questions, because we covered a lot of ground there, and we've said it's definitely given us much food for thought. If you do have any questions, please put them in the Q&A box, not the chat box, and we will read them out loud. So we've got one has just come in already, but do keep adding them, and even during the current Q&A discussion, if more things pop up, please do feel free to just drop more questions in as we go. So our first question, this is quite a good one. Estelle, what are the differences between ORCID IDs and other personal ID services like Scopus?
Yeah, thank you, Emily. This is indeed a very good question. So I'm sure that everyone in the research world, not everyone, but almost everyone will say that kind of now there are actually different IDs, the ORCID, Scopus ID, even previous. I think now it's officially called Web of Science because they used to be called Poplons, whatever. Actually, another service is from Clarivate. So yeah, I want to say we have different scopes and different services. And as you can imagine, or as you know, so Scopus ID is actually, Scopus itself is a citation indexing databases. So its services is about indexing citation. So Scopus ID had formed for that purposes. And ORCID focus on really, again, identifying researchers and different connections. So we are not particularly focused on indexing. So yeah, sometimes we will get people asking us, can I be indexed at ORCID? And our answer is that, well, we are not indexing services, but of course we welcome your adoption into your workflow and work with different indexing services. So in short, those IDs, we serve different purposes and for different community, different scopes, but of course we will work with each other in this overall research system.
No, I completely agree. And also, I mean, from my perspective, there's two additional reasons as an academic why I really like ORCID. First of all, if you're like me and you've been around in academia for quite a long time, which we don't mention how long, you forget. You forget everything you've done. I forget conferences I've attended. I forget grants I've received. To be honest, I even sometimes forget articles I've published. And having that all as like a central repository where anytime I need to update my academic CV or I want to find the DOI for one of my articles, it's all there in an ORCID, and that's really, really great. Because the fact is, after a few years, you do forget. You forget that you held a position as an invited, something or other representing a board or one place, and you forget you're an invited speaker somewhere else. So it's so useful for that. And the other reason, not relevant for everyone, but certainly for me, is when I got married, I changed my name to my husband's name. So ORCID, again, I'm able to aggregate because I publish now in my personal academic field in 19th century literature and culture. I publish under my maiden name, but around open science and research practices, I publish under my married name. And all of that is aggregated in ORCID. And that's something that is very clear and easy to use if you are, changing your name when you get married. Obviously, as I said, doesn't affect everyone. But it also allows other people to see that the two people who seem to be two different entities publishing are in fact one person, because I have my ID embedded in everything I do, and it allows me to very easily and quickly showcase the full gamut of what I do, which is great, and I love ORCID for that. So we've got some more questions coming in. Thank you all for your questions. So one question, ORCID recently put out a call for partners. How do such activities link with your overall community engagement strategy?
Yeah, thank you, Emily. I'm also reading the question. So yeah, thank you for asking this. It's Vincent. So yeah, I think as a community-driven organization, ever since we were born, we are kind of calling for partners and trying to engage with different parts of the world. So in short, I think our overall community engagement is really trying to work with different regions. So as I said, although now we are more, the engagement team now is actually kind of break breaks into different components by different stakeholder types. Like I'm working with direct members, we have a consortium group, but we are also kind of using steps ability. So I'm actually based in the APAC region. So I have colleagues in Americas or in AMEC region. So we have kind of different regional strategy as well combined with our stakeholders. So this presentation, I think one of the goals is definitely want to, working with both to how to kind of get into the open science initiative along with others in that region in particular. So yeah, of course, I'm not an expert of the Arabic or Armenian word, but I have colleagues have deep knowledge. So if you have any specific feedback, please feel free to share.
Excellent. And another question, any way to connect ORCID data with professional networking platforms such as ResearchGate and others?
Yeah, that's also a very good question. Thank you. Yeah, we have been, it's been a long time for us trying to engage better with different social networking services like ResearchGate, LinkedIn, etc. So I think it's more about, yeah, we are trying to knock the door, but so far we are still trying to do so. I think now at LinkedIn, you can kind of showing your IDs, but I know probably not further much can be done at this stage. But of course, it's something we are trying to do. And if everyone has any connections, feel free to let us know. Yeah, it's also something we really want to see how we can work with them. Yeah.
Excellent, thank you. Yeah. We've got time for a couple more questions. If anyone has anything else, I'm just going to read out the next one. But if you do have any more, please remember to put them in the Q&A, not the chat. So another question. Does ORCID have any specific programs to support organizations in lower and lower middle income countries to join that all-important ORCID membership?
Yeah, thank you, Emily. So this, again, I also would like to use this chance to share this great initiative we are having. So we understand that the ORCID membership fee could be kind of a bit challenging. So because we are a global nation and we know the global economy is not equal to each other. So now we have a global participation program. You can just Google search, or I will share the link later on. So now we have the global participation program. So there are two parts. One is called the Global Participation Fund. So the recent fund application cycle closed, but I think soon, probably in the next 2 to 3 months, there will be another round. So if you have any ideas, your organization have ideas to use some funds to foster ORCID adoption in your community, or you have some open source tools, but you don't really have funds to kind of integrate with ORCID, you're welcome to apply for those funds. And the other is membership equity program. So we provide 80% discount, I believe, to organizations in those lower middle countries. Yeah, I need to basically according to the World Bank classification. So we provide 80% discount for them to form consortia. So I want to use this chance to share this initiative. So if you can check our website to learn more details. Something to share. Yeah.
Thank you so much. If there aren't any other questions right now, we'll just say thank you again so much to our wonderful speaker, Estelle, both for her willingness to share her insights and her time, and also for what was, as we said, a really, really informative and I think very valuable and helpful discussion. Before you all leave, I know you're all about to log off, but before you all leave, we've got a couple of other little announcements to make. If we could go on to the next slide. First of all, before we break for the summer, we have one more event before the summer break. This will be in July. We will be having a talk from PKP, the Public Knowledge Project, who are responsible for OJS and various other open source publishing platforms, about open access and global infrastructure and the importance of enabling public access to all knowledge and scientific research in particular. So that'll be a really interesting talk. The QR code's here briefly, but also do go to our website, www.forumforopen.org, and the link is also, will probably be put in the chat in shortly. And please do consider joining us for that event next month. Then we will have the summer off, and then we'll crack back on with our events, and we'll have more details about those later. But the big second announcement, if you could skip to the next slide, is our annual forum. So our annual forum, for those of you who might not know already, this is really our flagship event for the region and for the wider, well, the world, really. We let everyone come. And the purpose of that event is to bring together high-level policymakers and stakeholders from all the different research groups and research seniorities across all 22 Arab states and beyond to come and discuss their challenges and their solutions for implementing open science policies and practices within their communities. And that can be open data, open infrastructure, open access. If you have things around APCs or transformative agreements, if you want to talk about the practicalities of, as a researcher, how can you publish open access if your KPIs are for, you know, those all important Scopus index journals. So it's a very, very broad event. We would love you to join. The call for papers is still open for another 2 weeks. The conference will be in Abu Dhabi this year in the UAE. We do it at a different event, different location each year. And this year we're very excited that Khalifa University, which is one of the top universities in the region and indeed the top university in the UAE, is our host partner. And we are also formally partnering with UNESCO this year. They're very much strong supporters of all the work we're doing. And they are our full partners for this event this October. So please do consider joining. The call for papers, again, the QR code is here and the link below, but you can also find the details on our website, and the call for papers will be closing on the 30th of January. So you still have 2 whole weeks to plan a proposal and send it in. Oh, one more slide. So also, as we mentioned before, for those of us who joined us before, you know the value of this, but for those of us who perhaps haven't joined us before, these are ongoing events, and we do very much rely on you as our community of stakeholders to tell us what you need to know about, whether it's more information about ORCID and PIDs in particular, or some other aspect of the open science ecosystem. Please do take the time, if you have time, it's literally 2 or 3 minutes, to just scan this QR code. It'll also be included in the email we send out later with the recording, and just take the time to fill it in and tell us what it is you want to know about, where we can support you. If you don't tell us, we won't have that information and won't be able to provide the courses required. So if you do have time, please do take the time to fill it out, because then we can give you what you need and what you want. So thank you once again for joining us, to all our attendees, and thank you again to Estelle and to ORCID for joining us today and for supporting us, and to the chat person who's just asked about the survey. The survey is the QR code on the slide in front of you, but we will also send a link out as well afterwards. So once again, thank you so much. We'll leave this slide up for a couple of minutes so you can copy the QR code if you do want to fill in the survey and make a request for more information on topics that you particularly need. And at that time, if you also do have any other questions specifically for Estelle about the partnership agreements and other ORCID initiatives, if you mention that you would like us to put her in touch with you directly, do again fill in the survey and we can make sure to put her in touch with you directly. And yeah, once again, thank you to Estelle and thank you to all of you.
Yeah, I just want to say thank you again. And I apologize for the technical issues at the beginning. I'm very happy that we...
No one knew, Estelle. No one knew about them. You don't need to tell it if no one knows. We look like swans. Really graceful on the surface and frantically scurrying underneath, but we never tell people about the frantic scurrying underneath. Once again, to those of you who are asking in the chat about where the survey is, the QR code here on the screen, if you scan that, that will take you to the survey. However, in addition, we will be including the link to the survey in the follow-up email that will go out later today. Once again, thank you to everyone. I think we'll probably end the meeting now. So thank you for joining us. And as ever, we hope to see you at our next events in the future and at the annual forum, which we'll be offering both in person and online. So we do hope you can all attend us in October and hopefully even submit a proposal. Thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone. Have a great day. Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Please feel welcome to contact me. Thank you. Bye-bye.